Well, Vybz Kartel has a song where he says, and if my life could rewind, and if indeed his life could be rewound, to September 30, 2011, the day he was arrested. And since that time and today is the first time he will sleep in his own bed. Yes, September 30, 2011, the day Vybz Kartel was arrested, 4,688 days ago. And those who are in the know would remember that he was not arrested in relation to the Clive Lizard Williams matter. It was in relation to another murder, that of a businessman, Barrington Bossy Burton, and he was freed subsequently of that charge. But then because he was behind bars already and the charges kept coming in, the Lizard Williams one came up, and that is what has kept him behind bars for so long. Today he walked a free man from the Supreme Court building and will move to pick up the rest of what's left of his life. He's 48 years old now, born on January 7, 1976, and he'll believe that he still has a lot more to give. As we recap what has been a momentous day, a historic day in many respects, because we had a new Court of Appeal President, Marva McDonald Bishop, who presided over the proceedings, who read the decision of herself and her colleague justices, a unanimous decision. Yeah, there are many things to suggest and to record today as a historic day in Jamaica's history. To recap the day, I'm speaking with a CVM TV reporter, Ramon Gordon, who was at the Supreme Court building inside the Court of Appeal, the chamber used for the sittings of the Court of Appeal. And Ramon, well, first, welcome to the program.
Thank you always for having me, George.
Excellent, sir. Today was a day like no other. I want you to take us from you got there, what you saw, and the things that you believe will resonate with you beyond today.
We got there at about 11:30, and of course there was some minimal movement on the ground. But as we got closer to the time, the 2 p.m. hearing, we saw the security forces start to show up even more so. They were briefed at around 1:30, and at that time there were about 50 officers on the ground, and there were tanks. So they were anticipating something big, and spectators had also started to gather. Got to the courtroom, it quickly became very filled. Attorneys, spectators, media, everybody very curious to hear what the outcome would be. I was near the back, and I was observing everybody. I saw the lawyers nervously looking over their files. I saw the law students talking to each other. I heard the conversation among media men. Everybody was just anxious to know the outcome of what was going on. So the verdict came, he's out, and you could hear a pin drop in the courtroom.
At what point, Ramon, at what point did you, in your own mind, say, yeah, he's walking free today?
So I'm consulting my notes here, but
yes,
the justice outlined some considerations that they went over before making their ruling. It was one about prejudice, about bias, about access to evidence, relevant evidence at this point in time, and witnesses. So in the beginning, I turned to one of my media colleagues and was like, oh, it doesn't sound like he's going to be let out. But then she introduced the contrast. She said something and I was like, hang on. But these are the reasons why the trial, or retrial rather, may not be viable. And she went into the conversations we're having about public perception and access to witnesses and exhibits that have gone missing. So when she started going over those things, I turned again to the same media colleague and I was like, this man is about to walk free.
Tell me the moment when she made it clear that, yeah, he was going. What was the reaction? Were there any audible gasps within the room? Was at that point the room went even quieter than it had been before? Describe that part for me.
It went dead silent, but there were a lot of smiles.
Yes.
I don't know if it was joy for the prosecution or something else, but everybody, they were looking at each other because we knew it could be one of 2 outcomes, but I don't think in our heart of hearts we were expecting it to be that. I don't know why, but maybe it's the cynic in us.
Yes.
But when we heard that he was free, then everything changed.
And pardon me, Ramon, well, I'm not apologizing for asking about inside the courtroom, because that's the one place we haven't seen. We can see the pictures outside, as we are seeing now, Kartel coming out and hugging his wife, his Turkish wife, and greeting Tommy Thompson of Bright Light fame, and playing to the gallery as his adoring fans mass to welcome him home, quote unquote, inside that courtroom again, Ramon Gordon. So at the moment when Justice Marva McDonald Bishop, the new Court of Appeal, in her first act as the new Court of Appeal from the benches, when she made clear that, yes, this matter would not proceed to a retrial, describe for the viewers the reaction of the defense team.
The defense team, they were jubilant. They didn't react audibly, obviously, because they have to maintain.
That's what I wanted to know. If they were
absolutely not. They were very milady, you know, the usual.
Yes.
But it was very, very obvious that they were excited. And I think it was evidenced by them leaving the courtroom. Isaac Buchanan, he was on the defense team, Iqbal Chevaria, and the other attorneys. They walked with a bounce,
yes,
a sort of bounce, and they ran out and they found a spot, and the media descended upon them, and that was absolutely in that number.
And by contrast, the prosecution,
I was looking for them afterwards, and I didn't see them.
Crushed.
I would suspect so.
Yeah.
I don't want to make any pronouncements, but I didn't interview them. I don't think they spoke with media.
And then on the outside of the court, when the fans gathered to acclaim Isaac Buchanan, John Clark and company for what they had pulled off, describe the interaction between the crowd and the attorneys.
Oh, I'm going to exaggerate. It was absolutely terrifying for me to watch because the fans, they saw Isaac come out of the courtroom with his team, and there's a barricade that the police had set up. I alluded to that earlier. Yeah. And they all descended on it. Mm-hmm. They're pushing it over the police. I was fearful that they would have to, you know, start using force to restrain the people. But they started to behave, thank God. Mm-hmm. Could not be, the excitement, it could not be contained. Mm-hmm. It was palpable. Mm-hmm. Palpable. Mm-hmm.
And so you would describe in a sentence or two, describe from the moment the people assembled inside the courtroom to hear Justice MacDonald Bishop read the reasoning and give the judgment to the point where it all ended. Just encapsulate that for the listeners and viewers.
It was like watching a novel unfold. Have you ever read a good book?
Yes, man.
There's a start, you know, the premise, the plot builds, and then there's a climax. We thought the climax would be, you know, the conviction and him getting locked up. The climax is, you know. So we witnessed the climax today, and what we see now, I think, is the rising and falling action. So whatever Kartel will do after this will be, you know?
Yes, and in general, because people, as you mentioned the fact that the police and the tactical units were deployed early. If you could describe for us the general behavior of the crowd gathered in the vicinity of the Supreme Court building, were they difficult to police? Were they, for the most part, obeying instructions? Were they rowdy? Describe that for me.
They were absolutely rowdy, understandably so. Right next to the Court of Appeal, somebody brought out a boombox and they started serving rum. You know, there were libations.
Yes.
And everybody were having a grand time. There was a party right next to the Court of Appeal.
No special drink and weed a bun.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what it was.
Yes.
So persons are excited. People want to know when the next concert is. But as you heard from his attorneys and from Kartel himself, it sounds like his priority right out of prison is his family and just getting reintegrated into society. He's been away for 13 years.
Yeah, and that's where I wanted to go with you again, because I wanted to know if you got anything from the man himself or from any of the attorneys to indicate what next for him. Is he going to lay low for a period of weeks? Is he going to hit the studio immediately? You said family, but is there anything else you got from what the immediate plans from Mr. Kartel, from Vybz Kartel are?
Well, from the man himself, he did say that crime does not pay. That was, I think, the most impactful message he gave while driving away from the place that he's been a prisoner for a long, long time. Yeah. And also, remember the other part of the question.
I was asking if the lawyers gave any indicator as to what he would be doing in the immediate term after being released.
Now, remember, they've been locked up for 13 years. Yes. They're working on a project. It's called the Innocence Project. We haven't been given the details of it yet, but a lot of the lawyers had a problem with their detention because they've long maintained that it's unconstitutional. So they don't want other people to go through that, apparently. So there's a plan in the works now to develop a project that will help people who are in a similar position. We'll get more details, I guess, as the weeks go on.
Were you outside the Torres Street Adult Correctional Center when he emerged?
I was not.
You were not. All right, fine. So I'll leave that part. We saw the adulation for Vybz Kartel when he emerged, and we know that everybody was there and interested in the case because they want to see the world boss being free. This is what I was talking about. So this is him walking out of the Torres Street Adult Correctional Facility and his hands to the heavens. The man behind him in the orange bandana and the cap, that looks to be Sean Storm Campbell. Now, before these two were locked up, Ramon, Sean Storm Campbell was perhaps second in command or second in rank in Gaza Empire, Portmore Empire that Kartel built. Did you see anybody out there running to hug Sean? Well, was there anybody at court who appeared to be a Sean Storm fan first and foremost, in the way that there were so many people who were obviously interested in what would happen to Vybz Kartel, the world boss? I just want to know if there was any outpouring of love for the other men who were in this case with him.
Unfortunately, if there was that sort of outpouring, it wasn't very obvious.
Yes.
Everybody wanted to see world boss.
All about the world boss.
Yes.
Well, Ramon, good job to stick with it. And I just want to say, in your experience as a journalist, you've made very, very good strides. has, but you've only just begun in real terms. But to cover something like this, to be something like this, it must be already form part of the plank of your career, you would say.
Yes. Yes, it taught me patience, it taught me resilience, it taught me so many things. George, it was pandemonium out there, you know.
Yes.
But it is fun, and it is such an important job, and I enjoy it every time I go out.
Absolutely so. Vybz Kartel. All right, we take a break now with, well, here on Lead Story, we are returning. We hope to speak with Professor Donna Hope, sociocultural analyst, and of course, attorney at law Bert Samuels on the implications, ramifications of this decision in the Vybz Kartel matter. Well, that phrase dies today. There's no more Vybz Kartel matter because Vybz Kartel is a free man. There's no more co-accused. There's no Vybz Kartel and friends because there's no charge against their name in any place of prosecution in Jamaica. More on Lead Story after these.
Fest 24 under the patronage of MP Natalie Garvey at Sligoville Stadium, July 31, Kiddies Village, Gospel Night, Kevin Downsville Road, Isabella Carey Sales and more. August 1, Sports, Midday Concert, Celebrity Cook-Off, Senator Damon Crawford, MP Juliet Cuthbert, SSP Stephanie Lindsay, Reggae Showcase, Sizzla, Kalonji, Bugle, Elaine and more. Admission is free. Sponsors TPD, CDF, Airports Authority, CVM, NHF, Grace Kennedy, Burger King, New Era Fencing, Jamaica 62, Sepron, Guinness, Maggie, Jackson Enterprises, SDC and Connect. Don't miss it.
Bollywood has never been this good. Catch Made for Each Other weekdays at 12:30 p.m. on your drama station. Brought to you by
Hyundai. Conditions apply.
John Mark.
Celine, where you going? You can't say we're a friend now. Celine. We have to take on the road.
Yeah, man, we have to take out the same way. All right, Lord, thank you so much for this day.
Me, I do the work. Yeah. And the people them accept it. Clarendon, Mandeville. But now we get to go into the inner city of Kingston.
I can't wait to learn more as we go across Jamaica into different churches to understand what they do.
The time by Grace. Taste that moves you is
6:45.
Freedom! Imagine Fest 24 under the patronage of MP Natalie Garvey at Sligoville Stadium, July 31, Kiddies Village, Gospel Night, Kevin Downsville Road, Isabella Carey Sales and more. August 1, Sports, Midday Concert, Celebrity Cook-Off, Senator Damon Crawford, MP Juliet Cuthbert, SSP Stephanie Lindsay, Reggae Showcase, Sizzla, Kalonji, Bugle, Elaine and more. Admission is free. Sponsors TPD, CDF, Airports Authority, CVM, NHF, Grace Kennedy, Burger King, New Era Fencing, Jamaica 62, Sepron, Guinness, Maggie, Jackson Enterprises, SDC and Connect. Don't miss it.
The justice system today delivered a decision which sees Vybz Kartel and his co-accused walk free from the Court of Appeal. They are free men this evening. No retrial will be ordered in the murder of Clive Lizard Williams, for which Kartel and his co-accused were originally convicted and sentenced. That brings an end to a matter that has spun on for 13 years, 4,688 days Vybz Kartel spent behind bars. Today he is a free man. He will sleep in his own bed tonight. So too will Sean Storm Campbell and Andre St. John, two of the other men who were convicted alongside him for the murder of Clive Lizard Williams. Turning now to attorney at law Bert Samuels and Professor Donna Hope for some perspective on the issue. Professor Hope, let me ask you it this way. In another place, we spoke about Babylon and the system of Babylon and how the downtrodden in Jamaica often look at those who police the justice system and who enforce the rules where justice is concerned, the Babylonian context that they are placed and considered in. And I want to ask if it is a little bit ironic that the son of a Rastaman, Big Youth's son, Isaac Buchanan, helped to engineer the freedom of a man who would say that Babylon has kept him behind bars for 13 years?
Well, George, that, a lot of us have been following this since 2011, September 30, I think the date was, and even before that. And it is important for us to understand that, the justice system was put on a very big stage for people to see it at work in a very specific way. And so it worked in both directions. So we see the justice system contravening what many people thought were, the constitutional rights of an individual, but also the justice system kind of recovering itself many years later. And of course, with the help and the kind of stability, mental stability and the knowledge and the work that was put in by the legal team. So we have had different legal teams working all the way through. But Isaac Buchanan and his team are going to be pushed into the popular imagination as these heroes are said in another capacity. They have been lauded and, they're going to be lionized because of the way that this particular case, trial, conviction, appeal, all of the different levels to it. Kind of, a lot of us are just really tired thinking about it. All the different levels to it proceeded, and this way that it was clear that somewhere, somehow, the justice system had erred. This is a part of the challenge, and the people in popular culture, the people in dancehall culture, the people in media, if you look at the persons who have been responded on social media, it's not just Jamaicans. It's people involved in popular culture and music activities from all over the world. I've been getting calls from Europe, America, everywhere. People all over the world have been calling, following it. People who should be in their beds by now, it's after midnight in the UK, are up paying attention to what is happening, because this case and the implications of it for justice for ordinary people and the timelines involved, the money spent, all of these things have come together to suggest Babylon system at work in different ways. And Isaac Buchanan, who is connected to the music culture, he's Big Youth's son, and has had his own challenges along the way, stands up and becomes counted as an important legal mind in the process that has just unfolded and been completed before us today. The eve, remember, of Emancipation Day in the region, not just in Jamaica.
Yeah. Bert Samuels, you listened to Justice Marvin McDonald Bishop go through a summary of the reasoning. Your perspective on what she said as she grounded the justification for her decision.
Well, she had two choices, retrial or free the men. She looked and put things in the balance. She was careful to say this is a horrible crime. She said that murders must be deterred, that, Jamaica has a high murder rate, and there's a grieving family. On the other hand, she said, she found that the factors in favor of the accused outweighed the state's interest in the matter. And then she said, listen, and an interesting point is the Parliament has, since the trial, gone on and put minimum for murder. And if these men go on trial, they would get larger sentences. That's one. Two, the Parliament has reduced 12 jurors to 7 jurors now. So they would not get the force of a 12-juror trial. And she got empirical evidence. She looked at cases where the court has ordered retrials. And she said it's a bad show on the part of the system, a bad show on the part of the prosecution. When courts order retrials in Jamaica, there are people waiting for 20 years for that retrial. So with that empirical evidence, she says, listen, we have to look at the medical report on Kartel. He has Graves' disease. And she said, we have to balance this. Then we have to look at the expense that the accused would have to go through after 13 years in custody. And she came down on the side where the scale tipped in favor of Mr. Kartel and Sean Storm and the two others. So justice was served. But I want to go to one other issue. I'm very disappointed in the fact that the DPP went into chambers and encouraged the judge to continue the case. Justice system is on trial. Prosecutors must not seek to win cases. They must seek to give justice to the citizen. And this encouragement of the judge, and the judge was weak. He lacked the spine it required to stop the case. He was concerned with how many days of trial have been going on. So he was dealing with expediency. He wasn't dealing with justice.
Bert, you know very well from your own experience, extensive experience, that those we call ordinary Jamaicans, and we were ordinary Jamaicans at some point in time, maybe still are. The fact is that they don't look at this system of justice favorably. They think that at every point of the justice continuum, they are battling something that exists to stifle them, to send them away for a long time, to not give them a fair shake. Given that this cartel thing has dragged on for 13 years, and even at this point where he's now a free man, do you think this decision from the Court of Appeal has caused Jamaicans to believe or to get new belief in this justice system, or are they even more suspicious of it?
They're going to be continued to be suspicious because who can find 4 teams of lawyers? Trial, Michael Lawn, Tom Tavares, Christian Simpson, Pierre Rogers, Tamika Harris. Court of Appeal, Bert Samuels, Bianca Samuels, Baronita Robertson, Senior Smith, Robert Fletcher, Daniel Lindsay, Privy Counsel, Linda Hudson, Bianca Samuels, the Malin, the foreign lawyers, Isa Buchanan, and the 4th set of lawyers for the retrial. It's Isa Buchanan and John Clark and 2 other attorneys. Which other ordinary citizen can find 4 teams of lawyers to get this result? The brief, the record is 6,194 pages that we all had to be reading. Look at my hair. You know, this case has grazed me up. So the point is the cynicism of the citizen that, listen, if you don't have the kind of money that maybe the accused had, you would not get justice. Justice should not be bought. It should be something given to each Jamaican citizen. As I said, there's a man waiting 20 years now when the court orders his retrial, and he's still in prison. But Carter is leaving a lot of injustice behind him in the prisons as he walked out this afternoon.
Professor Donahope, at the top of the show, I described Vybz Kartel as dancehall's foremost poet, dancehall's foremost lyricist, and its foremost influencer. He returns to the streets, returns to his comfort zone 13 years after he was locked away. Will he still have the same reach of influence, you think?
Well, Vybz Kartel remains very popular, but remember that dancehall culture has changed significantly since he was incarcerated, and I've said this somewhere else before, in that the generations have moved on, and we are now in the dancehall trap. They say trap dancehall, I say dancehall trap generation, a different generation. Many of them don't even call out the cartel as others had been doing before, because they are from this different generation. He has to come in and remind them of his own, role in dancehall, the teacher, the lyricist par excellence, and to reclaim his space, because many of the individuals who he, mentored and put forward are superstars in their own right now. They have claimed their space. Many of the persons with whom he was jousting as equals at the same level are way beyond him in terms of where their careers are. So he has a lot of work to do to reclaim. He has lost, in my opinion, a significant amount of, personal cachet of influence, but also money, not just what he spent on these multiple teams of lawyers, millions and millions. Bert didn't tell us how much money, but it's millions and millions of dollars. But he has also lost millions and millions of dollars in revenue that he could have earned from different streams, income streams. So all of these things, he will have to build up on those.
But let me ask you this, Professor Hope. But let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Let's not forget that Vybz Kartel was unique in many respects. If we list the great DJs in Jamaica, he's one of the few who changed the game from where he got it. His style of delivery when he emerged on the scene, in a Kalkanai, with a Bakla Kalkanai, nobody DJ'd like that before. He changed the game and brought a whole new wave with him. Idonia rap DJ'd like him, which was something that we've never heard before. So I say that to ask if there's someone who can either come with a new way to let the dancehall follow him like the Pied Piper he was, it would be him, because he's done it before.
Well, let me say again that he has to catch up with 13 years of being physically absent. So his voice was not absent because we kept getting music from him. I mean, the ringtone on my phone for the last 7 years or so has been a song, dancehall, and everything. It has not changed. And I did say I would not remove that ringtone until the final decision was made. Today, if he's staying in or coming out, I've kept that ringtone since that song came out, and all my students like hearing it. But in a lot of ways, let me repeat, the terrain has changed. He will have work to do because what we will understand as lyricists, as people from a different generation, the Gen Zs are totally different. So let's see what moves he can make because he does have strong support internationally. He will make a mark. But let us see how much he can make with the new generation and the new movement that are now a part of dancehall. Vybz Kartel remains top lyricist, top influencer, a man who innovated multiple things in dancehall culture, style, fashion, all of the different attitude and presence and brought in multiple generations of artists. That is something that will not be taken from his legacy.
Bert Samuels, in about 30 seconds, I put this to you. What does the result and the outcome rather mean for those who administer justice in Jamaica? What are the lessons that they ought to draw from what happened today?
Well, the CVM TV News to see it happen.
Many strides, one dream, many heartbeats, one pulse. Sagicor, celebrating Jamaican success. The time by Sagicor is
7 o'clock.
CVM News at 7 Wednesday headlines, courtesy of Heart NSDA Trust, Jamaica's Human Development Agency.
The internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winford Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
So much more than entertainment.
Our days get a little complex sometimes. Often so many things make sense, yet so many do not. We are being intentional about giving prominence to the big stories in order to clarify and enlighten. Lead Story explains who, what, when, where, why, and how. Lead Story with George Davis, weekdays at 6:30 p.m. on CVM TV.
Next on Royal Palm Estate.
You don't have a woman? No, miss. Me stay far from woman. Woman is crosses. Mine is self, no boy. No, man. The only one me deal with is my mother. Now that you are a millionaire, the girl them supposed to run you down like these half hour,
Oh, you mean, man? They might chase for me like when White Shark want fresh me.
Remember, the only reason I agreed to come up here and spend the night with you is because you said that we'd have separate rooms.
And that we will, if that's what you want. Listen, I always respect the wishes of my princess.
And Eliza, I am not the only person at Royal Palm Estate to have a child whose father is a secret.
So what you trying to say, child?
Do you know who is the father of Ann Joyce's son?
Hush, up your mouth. What we are covering up here is a crime. This is not some simple traffic violation. What happened in that room that night was murder. On Royal Palm Estate.
Royal Palm Estate is on CVM every Tuesday and Sunday at 9 p.m.
The race has begun, I've traveled the seas, I've traveled the waters. Once I was weak, now I'm much stronger. I've worked in the sun, look what I've become. I've conquered the beast, now I'm much greater. I've learned from a failure. Dedication, discipline and drive, seizing every moment that comes up in this life.
Alright guys, the news is in. You are loving MTM on CVM.
And for those who don't know, we are the Mitchells. I'm Wayne.
And I'm Tammy.
And you can come along with us on our journey every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Right here, you can see it happening on CVM TV.
Yeah, MTM man, CVM man.
See it happen, man. CVM man, MTM man, CVM man. See it happen, man. CVM man.
You're the sugar to my tea. Meet the Mitchell family. John Mark.
Celine, where go on? We can't say we're a friend now. Celine. We have to take on the road.
Yeah, man, we have to take on the same way. All right, Lord, thank you so much for this day.
Me, I do the work. Yeah. And the people them accept it. Clarendon, Mandeville. But now we get to go into the inner city of Kingston.
I can't wait to learn more as we go across Jamaica into different churches to understand what they do.
Tonight in CVM News at 7, Kartel out. Court of Appeal declines retrial. Waterford's Gaza reacts to Kartel's release. And JPS under fire once again.
Also this evening, Hurricane Beryl's impact on food quality. In the business report, Dream Weekend targets higher sales this year. And in sports, Sharika Jackson withdraws from Olympic 100 meter. From Kingston, Jamaica, this is CVM News at 7. I'm Stephen McHugh.
And I'm Carolyn Brown. It's Wednesday, the last day of July 2024, which makes it the 31st. Thanks so much for joining us. And we begin with the day's major breaking story. Vybz Kartel and two of his co-accused are free after over a decade in prison.
Now, this landmark ruling is one that has been greatly anticipated since the Privy Council quashed their conviction earlier this year. Andre Jebinson was on the ground.
Thick among the armed forces reminiscent of a massive state of emergency, out in their numbers, intent on keeping things under control. But among the cartel fans, angst, happiness and a lyrical parade, a spontaneous chorus erupted.
What are you looking forward to?
The big stage show at Jam World. We have to put on our Afro. Cartel remember me. The big stage show we are going to Jam World. Anytime him step out. Remember be a clock, I sell that summer here. Be a clock.
What's your favorite cartel song?
They have long waited for this day when their world boss would see the streets again. About 3 hours after the verdict to free him, Kartel was a free man, but there was no describing the frenzied emergence. So here it is. Kartel spoke first to CVM News.
What do you feel, Kartel?
Feel good. It's a joy.
What was it like being inside prison?
Hell. I'm going to tell the youth them, stay out of. All right.
Kartel's wife was there to meet him, his boys in one of the two limousines waiting for him on the outside. This is the inside of one of Kartel's limos. All right, so there you have it. Kartel has been freed. He's actually in this limousine. It cost about $250,000 to rent one of these. There are two of them, and he is in the front one. He has made his way out, and he is now about to depart the Tower Street, where he has been for quite a...
And there was jubilation on Barry Street in downtown Kingston as supporters rallied to celebrate the ruling. Well, our reporter Courtney Lewis, who was outside the court from early in the afternoon, witnessed the crowd swell from 0 to hundreds.
It's a hot day here in downtown Kingston, but that has not stopped scores of supporters and dancehall fans as they come out to support their favorite dancehall artists and celebrate the ruling that Vybz Kartel and his co-accused will now be free.
I'm feeling brilliant, knowing that he's going to be free. He's been incarceration for so long, and they have got no proper witness, evidence against his case. So now he's going to be free. We are all happy about that. I know where man say, I will back there, and God give a second chance. innocent, we're not guilty anymore. Freedom, Madonna! Freedom! Freedom!
Not only could hundreds of supporters be seen dancing and chanting in the streets to celebrate the news, but there was heavy police presence attempting to control the crowd as they stormed the streets, eager to speak to lawyers. Defense attorney John Clark describes the landmark ruling as a relief.
Well, I am relieved that the nightmare, which our clients have described, that have been going on for more than 13 years, these are persons who have protested at all stages. Their innocence have now ended. So that means that for these men, they can move on with their life without having this case hanging over their head. After almost 13 years of spending many money, paying lawyers, and stressing emotionally as they tried in their bid to get what is justice.
While he welcomes the ruling, he says it will be of little consolation to his clients who were robbed of their liberties for over a decade.
Regardless of what any judge may want to do, no man can give you back time that has gone. I think we know the maximum time wasted can never be regained. And for those men, regardless of what a judge may want to do, even if they want to sue, they can't get back the 13 years. And for some of them, family members would have died in that 13 years. They'll never be able to get back the opportunity to spend that time with those family members. So ultimately, it is a sad day for those men be released, even released now to go home to a family where that loving mother is no longer there.
Courtney Lewis for CVM News.
And lots more to come here on CVM News at 7 right after this.
CVM News at 7 Wednesday headlines, courtesy of Heart NSDA Trust, Jamaica's Human Development Agency.
We are an island of over 3 million dreams, but we share one destiny. Success for one is success for all. We are small, but we're not afraid of big challenges, because when we face the world, we have the power of many behind us. We are Jamaicans. Many strides, one dream. Many heartbeats, one pulse. Sagicor, celebrating Jamaican success.
Sugarcane Productions, in association with Boundbrook Wines, presents the Love and Togetherness Concert, starring the legendary Russell Tompkins and the New Stylistics. Saturday, August 17, the Palm Drive at Hope Gardens, with Richie Stevens, Kashif Lindo, Wayne Wade, Heather Cummings-Williams, and Lloyd Parks and We the People. Gates open 6 p.m., showtime 8 p.m. Presented in association with CVM TV, The Jamaica Observer, Cool 97 FM, Seals and Engravables, Island Car Rentals, Okorte Hotel and Suites, NK Wholesale, Sugarcane Productions, and DK Water. Security by Allied Protection. Betcha by golly wow. Don't miss it!
Burger King with the best tasting burger under the sun. You deserve the best, you are number one. Best. Flame grilling, juicy whopper, cause you deserve it. Yeah, next level, awesome, that's how we serve it. Mama menu done your way, the taste rules every day. Flame grilled goodness, you deserve it. Great taste, well done. More flavor, fresh Burger King, best tasting burger under the sun.
CVM News at 7 Wednesday, courtesy of...
Your love lives on with life insurance from Sagicor.
Welcome back. Dancehall superstar Vybz Kartel and his co-accused were released from prison today following the landmark ruling by Jamaica's appeal court. The decision came after years of legal battles and a significant ruling from the island's apex court. Ramon Gordon continues our team coverage of this historic case.
Yo, The Court of Appeal announced today that it has decided against ordering a retrial for Kartel and his co-accused in the high-profile murder case of Clive Lizard Williams. The decision was handed down by Appeal Court President Justice Marva MacDonald Bishop, who concedes that while the nature of the alleged crime is heinous, several factors including missing exhibits and witness availability would make a retrial untenable. The court also considered cost and Palmer's deteriorating health. The ruling follows the Privy Council's March decision to quash the original convictions due to juror misconduct, remitting the case back to Jamaican court for further consideration. Kartel, whose real name is Adidja Palmer, was initially convicted alongside Sean Storm Campbell, Kahira Jones, and Andre St. John for Williams's murder. The convictions were overturned in March, prompting a decision on whether a retrial would be necessary. The case has been a focal point in Jamaican legal history, marked by its extensive trial and numerous appeals. Kartel's legal team had long argued that the initial trial was tainted by irregularities, and today's ruling marks a significant victory for the entertainer.
It has been a very long process, but we're certainly overjoyed, and I share the sentiments of all the other counsel in this matter.
Kartel has been incarcerated for over a decade, with his attorneys maintaining his detention was unconstitutional. It's led them to consider an innocence project.
Those discussions are in the preliminary stage. I don't want to preface certain things just as yet, but certainly it is something that the appellants see the need, considering the position that they were placed in. The process of justice is not perfect, but it is one as counsel that I hold dear to my heart. Justice is slow, but justice is always certain when a man is innocent. So, albeit the 13 years, we still hold faith in the justice system, and as regrettable as it was, I am certain they're happier that they are now free, notwithstanding that they did the 13 years.
The court's ruling concludes a saga that began with Kartel's arrest in 2011 and subsequent conviction in 2014. Ramon Gordon for CVM News.
Well, in Waterford, the self-proclaimed Gaza City, there was a movement of the people. Our reporter Adrian Williams said within minutes, the silence which greeted him changed.
And we'll return to that story in a moment. In other news, the ease of many schools island-wide were severely impacted by Hurricane Beryl. But as the back-to-school season heightens, concerns linger around their level of readiness for September. The Minister of Education, Fable Williams, says her ministry is adhering to guidelines for the recovery process.
We indicated from the first day of seeing the rapid assessment of the damage to our schools that we would have to use the emergency procurement process, given the short space of time, approximately 7 to 8 weeks, in which we have to have the priority number 1 schools in operations. We consulted with the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service, once with the PSNI, and the procurement lawyer at the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service. And then we broadened the conversation to include NET and the Technical Services Unit, so they could ask any questions and feel comfortable that they are on good footing to deploy this methodology. It is important to do this because emergency procurement is not a process that we have employed at the ministry, at least not since I've been there. And so we wanted to be guided. We are relying on the emergency procurement guidelines as detailed in the GOJ Handbook of Public Sector Procurement Procedures, and in particular, the section on procedures for the procurement of goods, general services, and works.
Also today, the spotlight on the Jamaica Public Service recovery efforts was not dimmed as Energy Minister Daryl Vaz blasted the company at a post-cabinet briefing. The Office of Utilities Regulation was present, summoned by Cabinet. Trisha Gay Kelly tells us more.
The Jamaica Public Service, JPS, is in the hot seat again as Energy Minister Daryl Vaz detailed the utility company's shortcomings before and after Hurricane Beryl at a post-cabinet briefing on Wednesday. And though JPS continues to send numerical updates on its recovery efforts, Minister Vaz is not satisfied.
Customers are affected. So the percentage means absolutely nothing to me. It means a lot to them because it means that they are almost there. They are 90-odd%. The only percentage that I'm interested in is 100%. Anything other than that, don't tell me about it.
The Office of Utilities Regulation, OUR, was specially invited to the party to present its latest report from utility companies. This report includes the National Water Commission, NWC's application to waive its guaranteed standards. JPS, however, additionally requested the waiver of its overall standards as well, while asking that the company not be held accountable for any breaches, which would require financial compensation to customers. OUR Director General Ansard Hewitt says the agency is investigating.
As a part of the analysis of the application, we'll gather additional information and assess the extent to which events outside of its reasonable control have negatively impacted JPS's performance of its license obligation, and which could not have been prevented or overcome by reasonable diligence as contemplated by the license.
But Minister Vybz was not pleased with this request. Neither is he pleased with their performance pre- and post-burial.
There is no ifs, ands, or buts in my own mind that if better maintenance was carried out pre-burial, not months before burial, I'm speaking about years, that we would not be in the situation that we are in now, because we have the evidence that areas still don't have light that were least affected by the weather event.
He even highlighted the company's late response to the squall line on Friday. The JPS has pushed its full recovery date back to August 12. Trisha Gay Kelly, CVM News.
And we return to coverage of the release of dancehall entertainer Vybz Kartel in Waterford, the self-proclaimed Gaza City, where there was a similar groundswell of people. Adrian Williams was on the ground.
From a somber tone.
But as you see me and see how me look, you know, because you can't say, me no look feel and me no feel please, because me no like what go on, me no like how them a deal with the things, seeing how them say, and them say, and them say, and when the right time when them fi do things, them nah do nothing, G.
And then on to an uplifted mood.
So what me tell you now, say done free and no one know say you're a mad thing. Yeah, man, a little more be a party in his game. Yeah, man.
It was scenes of jubilation throughout Waterford Portmore in St. Catherine after dancehall entertainer Adidja Vybz Kartel Palmer and his co-accused were set free as the Court of Appeal ruled in their favor for no retrial. Despite a strong police-military presence, locals were not perturbed to show their excitement.
Vybz Kartel forever. Vybz Kartel forever. Tell you say the boss a come today. I'm tell you say mummy a wait upon him. You know see it. And the world boss you big. Cool no man.
Yesterday, best birthday gift. Free world boss.
Outside. We're there right now. Yeah man, Gaza straight man.
Don't think about me. How is Adidja Palmer feeling and his family feeling? His son, his mother, his sisters. Yeah, you hear the noise? We're so ecstatic, you know?
While others were talking about Vybz Kartel's impact as an entertainer, a few reminisced about him leading a different life now that he's out.
Oh, they hear him singing gospel music.
Why not? God give him a voice. So him do that. And people are listening to him. So he got the chance now to do something else. So why not do it and bring the younger set them to God?
I'm a child of God, man of God. I'm a born again Christian. Kartel mother and father is my friends who's living right there. We all live here from 1978. So I'm glad to call my son. I'm glad that he's freed. And I pray to God that whenever time he out, he just do music and do whatever you have to do. Do it clean.
Adrian Williams for CVM News.
Stay tuned. The business segment is up right after this break.
This is the Aedes aegypti mosquito that spreads the Zika, chikungunya, and dengue viruses. Search for its breeding sites and destroy them. This is the Aedes aegypti mosquito that spreads the Zika, chikungunya, and dengue viruses. Protect yourself from the bite of this mosquito.
A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Buy a bag of Hypro feeds and win a bag of cash in the Farm to Fortune promotion. Hypro is back with another chance for you to win a share of millions in the Farm to Fortune promotion. Try for the grand prize of $3 million. Weekly prizes of $100,000 plus daily prizes. To enter, buy any qualifying Hypro feed and text the entry code in the bag for your chance to win a bag of cash in the Hypro Farm to Fortune promotion.
Watch your pocket grow. Watch it grow with Hypro.
Conditions apply. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.